lines, so just double check to make sure that they haven't been cut by a fork coming through there. Alright, so then we're going to check our clearance lights on the trailer. Here we have one up there on that side. Sometimes there'll be one on the front and on the side, or there might just be one at the corner. But you're going to check at the top and the bottom for your clearance lights and any reflectors, if there's reflectors here. So again, just like all our other lights, they want to be clean, clear, not missing or broken, and these are amber in color. These are forward of the rear axle of the trailer. All right. Then when you get to the side, you're going to look down the length of the trailer and you're looking for this DOT tape. This DOT tape has to cover 50% of the side of your vehicle. That's why they put a piece and then skip and then put a piece and skip. You're just checking to make sure that that is securely affixed, that it's not peeling off the vehicle anywhere. And then you want to check the frame of the trailer. This is the lower frame, this silver aluminum colored piece at the bottom, and then there's another frame rail that runs at the top from front to back. So you want to check your frame rail, make sure that they're not cracked, bent, broken, twisted, don't have any large missing rivets out of it. And we also have cross members, just like on the frame of the tractor. You have cross members running from this side frame to the side of the frame on the other side of the trailer. And they go all the way back. Those cross members support the floor of the trailer. So you want to check that all of your cross members, all the way going back, none are missing, none are cracked or broken, twisted, and that all the rivets are in place holding them securely to the frame rail. Then you want to check your floor. Remember, the floorboards and all of these are wood. So you want to check the wood flooring to make sure none of it is dry rotted, doesn't have any holes, and then it can properly support vehicle traffic, forklift traffic going inside and your cargo.
Mr. Megan.
Yes, sir.
Do they actually have to be checked from the bottom, or you can actually go inside the trailer and
You can check it from both sides, but what are you going to do if your trailer's full of cargo?
you can't check it?
Yeah, you can't get inside, so yeah, usually it's you just check it from the outside. If you bend down and look at the floorboards, you'll be able to see cracked or broken, splintering floorboards, going down, or any holes, anything like that. All right, so then the next we're going to check our landing gear. This is your landing gear. So you want to check the whole landing gear, all the frame, all the hardware, make sure all the nuts and bolts are in place. That if there's welds, that none of the welds are cracked, that none of the framework is bent, broken, or shifted. There's a weld there, so you want to check those welds, make sure they're not cracked. You want to check that the pads or feet of the landing gear are not broken or twisted and they're properly secured. You want to make sure that they're fully raised, like they are now, in the fully raised position for the pre-trip, and that your crank handle is securely stowed in the bracket. All right, and then as we continue to move back, if your trailer happens to have a side door like this one does, you would inspect this the same way we did the door on the tractor. That it opens and closes, that it properly secures, that it has a weather seal intact all the way around, and that the hinges aren't broken or twisted, no missing hardware, and they can support the door when you open it. This one also has a step or a ladder. It's just a metal bracket bolted to the vehicle. So you're going to check that it's securely mounted, no loose or missing hardware, and that it's not cracked, bent, broken, or twisted, and can support your weight climbing up in and out of there.
when do they open this though? They look like
If they had, this one's secured shut, we don't use it anymore. But this would be, if they had, this would be used for an LTL, less than truckload,
Right.
or if they had to get some stuff out of the inside and there was stuff in the back, they could go in the side door. There's usually one on each side.
Yeah.
There's another one on the other side, up farther. So they get access, it just gives them more access to inside. All right, and then we want to check our lights. What light or what function does this light perform? It's a hazard and a turn signal. So that's your turn signal and four-way flasher, same as any other light. Clean, clear, not missing or broken, amber in color. A lot of times there'll be a clearance light at the midpoint here at the top. Same thing. Any reflectors, if you see them on the side of the trailer, inspect those. There's a reflector on the back, that red one there. Yeah. So this is a reflector. Anybody know what this light is?
ABS. Four-way hazard light?
On the side.
ABS?
Nope. ABS would be yellow.
Brake light?
Nope. Brake lights are on the back. It's just a clearance light. That's all it is, a clearance light. But because it's behind
The rear.
the rear axle, it has to be red in color, same as the reflector. If these were forward, they would be amber, but they're back here, so they're red in color. So clean, clear, not missing or broken. Red in color. Right. And then as you get back here to your tandem, notice you have your airlines here. You want to make sure that your airlines are properly suspended. They're not going to drag onto anything on the ground. Because these tandems slide forward and backwards, so this airline has to be able to go with this carriage as it slides back. The line has to be able to reach all the way to the back or come all the way up forward, and that's why they use bungees to keep them up off the ground. So you want to check that your airlines, fittings aren't cracked or broken, the lines aren't cut, cracked, broken, leaking, tape, splice, worn, just like the airlines up on the front. Then this particular tandem has a release handle here that controls the release pins. There's one here and there's another one on the side back behind the tires. That's what keeps the tandems from sliding forward or backward. So you want to check that this release handle is all the way in the lock position, that the locking pins are out, fully engaged in the holes to keep the tandems from sliding. All right. All right, then we got our suspension, brakes, and wheel and tires, just like we had every other axle. All right, so this is your axle right here, running from side to side. So you've got, for you guys over there, I'll point to this side, but remember, you're going to be inspecting the driver's side. It's easier to see over here from where you are. So this is your suspension mount, this big mount right here. All right, so you want to make sure it's securely, for you guys, that's this. You want to make sure it's securely attached. There is a bushing in here. All right, because again, we're going to have a control arm coming out designed to pivot against this suspension mount. So there is a bushing inside here. So you want to make sure that that bushing is not worn, loose, or missing, that the suspension mount isn't cracked, broken, or twisted and securely attached. These happen to be welded on, so you don't have to worry about hardware. And then we have, this is the control arm, this boxy type piece of metal here. This takes the place of a leaf spring or the control arm that we had up on the drive axle. This is a lot beefier, can hold more weight. So this is, but it's still called the control arm. And then notice we still have U-bolts here. So the control arm, you want to make sure it's not cracked, broken, or twisted. It's securely mounted. Your bushing, it's mounted with these U-bolts. All right, we got U-bolts here on both sides, but the nuts happen to be on top. So the U-bolts aren't missing, broken, or loose, cracked, anything like that. All right, then these also have a little shock absorber in here. So you want to check that shock absorber, same way we did up front. Securely mounted, bushings top and bottom, aren't worn, loose, or missing, no loose or missing hardware. The shock body itself isn't cracked, bent, broken, or leaking. And then we have airbags. This is an airbag suspension. So you have an airbag there and there. You got a mount at the top and the bottom. Airbag. So you want to check that the mounts aren't cracked or broken. The hardware is all tight and secure, none is loose or missing. The airbags themselves aren't cut, cracked, dry rotted, or leaking. All right, and that is your suspension. So we got suspension mount, bushing, control arm, shock, U-bolts, airbag, and the airbag mounts. All right, any questions on the suspension?
What's this again?
Suspension mount. Yep, and we do have some trailers that have different suspensions. I'll show you, we do have one trailer here, I think it's 111, that has leaf springs back here, does not have airbags. So just whatever trailer you get, inspect it. We have one trailer I'll try to show you that instead of this mechanical tandem release, it is air operated. So it just has a button in here that you would, and the air retracts the pins and lets it slide, and the button goes out to do that. So I'll show you that too if it's around here. So just inspect whatever trailer you have. So any question on suspension? All right, then we'll do our brakes. Here's your brake chambers. These are dual brake chambers. Has your clamp here. So You want to check that your clamp is securely mounted, the hardware is not loose or missing, that the brake chamber itself isn't cracked, bent, broken, or leaking. And then you have your brake hoses here and the fittings. So you want to check your fittings and the hoses. Make sure the fittings are tight and secure, not loose or missing. The hoses aren't cut, cracked, taped, chafed, spliced, worn, rubbing, or leaking. All right, and then coming out of the trailing edge of these brake chambers, we also have our push rod and slack adjuster. All right, so you inspect this the same as we did the other ones. Clevis pin and cotter pin for security. They're not cracked, bent, or broken.
For the interpreter, the clevis pin is the straight piece of metal. The cotter pin is the iron-looking shape.
Yes, you can say that. Think of the clevis pin. It's nothing more than, you know what a dowel or a rod is?
Yes.
It's a smooth bore rod. It joins the two components, the push rod and the slack adjuster together. It's just a smooth bore pin, and then the cotter pin goes through a hole in the end to keep it from coming out. So then you would check your free play on these brakes. Again, you would have to have the spring brakes released, because otherwise you're not going to move these. And then you would pull on the slack adjuster, and the push rod should have no more than
1 inch.
1 inch of free play.
Will we need to test that out when we do our?
Oh, you just have to describe it.
Okay.
You don't have to get down here and lay around like I am. This just makes it easier to point it out to you guys.
Gotcha.
All right, and then moving inside for you guys over there, this is our brake drum. You can see a lot more of it here. Brake drum right there. So you're checking that your drum doesn't have any visible cracks, no contamination due to oil or grease. All right, and then you can see your brake linings here. These are nice and thick. These are fairly new. So you're gonna check your brake linings. We got one at the top, one at the bottom, top and bottom. You wanna make sure they're not worn dangerously thin. The metal portion is your brake shoe. That's your brake shoe. You wanna make sure that the brake shoe doesn't have any cracks in it. The orange spring, I don't know if it's orange on this side. It's orange over here. That's the return spring.
Yeah, it's orange.
I can't see past
It is.
the cap. Should be right up in here. That's your return spring. That's what pulls the brake shoes together when they're not being engaged. All right, so any questions on the brakes? Got your hoses and fittings, brake chamber, push rod, slack adjuster, brake drum, linings, and shoes. All right, and all that's left is wheel and tire. And you're gonna do these the same way we did on the tractor. You got two of them, so you're gonna do your ABCs on the inside, outside tire walls, abrasions, bruises, cuts. Tread depth is what?
No less.
No lower than 2/32 of an inch. Even tread wear for the E. And then inside here, you're gonna check your bud spacing, make sure the rims are butted up against each other. There's no daylight between the rim. The tires are even all the way around, and there's no debris wedged in there. And you want to check your rims, your wheels, inside, outside of your rims. Any cracks or breaks or illegal welds. All right, and then we get to the outside of the tire. So any questions underneath here before I crawl out?
You need help getting up?
I might. And there are some other, I didn't point out to you, it's not part of the inspection, but just so you can see it, you got your air tank. That's your trailer air tank here. And these are all your brake components, as far as this is just a manifold, but you've got your relays to reduce brake lag. It's all controlled by right here, going to your brake lines.
The ABS is not on it.
This trailer does not have ABS.
Does that? So this is where your brake lights would be controlled to. These lines, these electrical lines.
This is where your air, these are all air lines right here. Your emergency, and the blue ones are your service air lines going to the brakes. So these are the relays and valves that control when you step on the brake pedal. It helps, the relay helps reduce brake lag to the brake chambers, so you don't have to go all the way from the tractor all the way back here. There's little pilot lines that they get the signal back here to the brake chambers, and let the air from the air tank here get to the brake chamber quicker than if it came all the way from up at the tractor. All right. Any other questions back here?
Well, no, not for back here, but I know we supposed to have extra fuses and stuff like that. Did we go over that in the engine compartment?
We haven't done no, it's not in the engine compartment. The fuses would be part of the in-cab.
Okay,
If the tractor used fuse, these don't. These
Okay.
have breakers and relays.
All right.
Where is the EC, the black box?
This
don't have
trailer
ABS.
does not have ABS.
I heard you say that, but I didn't interpret it. You're right.
ABS, you need a chalk.
This is an old trailer. Remember what year ABS was required on trailers?
98, 97, 98.
Yep, 97 for the tractor, 98 for the trailer. So this one is much older than that. The tractors are 99, so that one did have it. I'd have to look on the plate, but this is much older than 98. All right, and I climb out that way. There, Mr. Peterson.
They want to boost the speed, they can hold on the side.
Really?
Yeah, and they get boosted, they can let go. Yeah, that's what that's for.
That's what that's about for.
That's what they're building for. Watch this.
We'll couple in the morning. Remember, coupling is not part of the pre-trip. All right, so our wheels, we did that. Wheels and tires the same. Got your tire pressure, your valve stem, your lug nuts. This one is a hub oil seal because it's not an axle seal because this is not a powered wheel. This particular one happens to have an odometer on it, so it tracks the number of miles that is on the trailer. Yep, and then this one, if it wasn't all painted with gray paint, this actually has two rings. It's supposed to be a clear plastic inside, so you can see the oil and visually see this. One ring will be full, the lower one would be add, so you would just check the fluid kind of levels off, and you can rate it in between there. This one you'd have to actually pop the cap out and visually check it since they painted it.
Same thing, oil hub, oil hub.
Yeah, hub oil seal. So the seals here on the back, checking for your leaks. Then you have your mud flaps. Check these just the same way we did on the back of the tractor. Securely mounted, not cracked, twisted, torn, falling off. Or in the wintertime, your snow skis.
Oh, you snow ski.
Right.
You forget that.
That's a door tie back right there. Yeah, what you would do. Okay, first off, especially if you've been driving, you have cargo in here. When you open the door, there's a safe way to do it and a wrong way to do it. The cargo can shift and be leaning up against the door while you're driving. So when you open it, you always want to keep the door between you and the cargo that is inside. That way, if the cargo is going to fall out, it's going to hit the door and fall that way. If you're standing over here when you open it, all that stuff can fall down on you. So you want to do it that way. Then you want to latch the handle in here so it can't. I'll show you why in a minute. So it can't close up on you. And then hold this with two hands because it's like a big sail. If it's windy, it's going to be pulling it out. And usually this is going to be traffic lane going by this side. So make sure you check for traffic before you step out. And then you're going to walk it all the way out. And it ties back. Little chain or a hook to hold that door open so that it can't bounce while you're trying to go back and break itself off.
You know how that's for now?
And Mike, you said none of these trailers have the air valves on the back of the trailer, right?
I
Or
have
like,
one.
You have one, okay.
For sliding the tandems?
Yes.
Yeah, we have one. We have one new trailer with ABS and air. All right, the reason you keep this handle up in here, some places you have to go, you have to actually climb up in there and sweep your trailer out, or you might go out there and check something. If you just jump up in here and the door's like this and the handle's open, it's possible that the breeze could hit the door and do that, and now you're inside and you can't get out. people have been locked inside their own cargo vans. Summertime, it can be 150 degrees in there. You're not gonna last that long. So whenever you take the handle off, put it up in there. That way it can't close in behind you. All right?
Can you use a blower to clear out your trailer?
Sure, if you have one. It's gonna, but you're gonna need you're gonna need eye protection, a mask. You're gonna need coveralls. Because if you start running a leaf blower way up in there, it's just gonna be a big old cloud of dust. It's bad enough when you're trying to sweep it with a broom. You gotta try to do it really slow and keep all that dust and stuff down towards the bottom. Because they get pretty dirty inside. This is probably for some type of a, might have utility light in there or something like that. It's got lights inside. Yeah, these are for low light straps.